Welcome, this is the Red Hook Town Board meeting of Wednesday, February 26th. Could I impose upon you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. If you would be kind enough for the folks at home to pan over to the screen, I'll try to blow it up so they can take a look at the agenda items for this evening. We anticipate having a rather quick meeting tonight. It's the second meeting of the month. We've got our board and committee reports at the end of it, but nothing too complicated tonight. We'll be authorizing the sale of surplus items from the highway department. We do this routinely from time to time as the equipment ages out. We are developing a form for large assemblies. We have a rather specific section of the code that deals with that. It's pretty prescriptive, but we thought it might be helpful for applicants to have an application. So we'll look at that form and hopefully approve it tonight with any modifications. We are going to, it is agenda item number 3, but I anticipate we're going to go into executive session. Actually 2 of them this evening. The first one will likely be for matters, pending matters in litigation, and then to hire a particular firm or firms for the Smart Growth Comprehensive Plan update, which is grant funded through the Department of State. We're going to briefly discuss Dutchess County passed at the end of last year an aquifer protection law, and I think it might behoove us to invite them to one of our next meetings to come describe for the public the law. But we're going to go over just sort of the basics of it tonight. And then any reorg, I think we're going to tonight maybe entertain constituting that comprehensive plan update committee, at least the structure of it, number of members, and so on and so forth. And then get to that department, board, and committee reports. Okay, announcements. So everyone will be getting a mailing from my office in the next few weeks with all of the spring events. I think we're up to about 7 or 8 of them. One of the ones that we want to let you know coming up in the beginning of April is once again e-waste. It's a free event. We're one of the few municipalities in the area to offer this. Recycling Center, 7:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday, April 5th. Here are some of the items that you can bring with you. Also, we had a successful January Repair Cafe. The one in April will be on Saturday, April 26th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Here are some of the items that you can bring to be fixed. I will say it was really popular over at the electrical repair station. So if anybody's looking for a new career, electrician might be a good choice. Okay, those are the announcements I have.
Can I just add one more?
Please, Christine.
Just wanted to let everybody know that the annual fishing contest is scheduled for Saturday, April 12th.
Okay, and that is at the rec park.
Yep.
And we stock it and you fish it. Okay. Public comment period. Would any member of the public like to speak on any matter? Please, if you'd be kind enough to just come up and state your name.
Marlon Schulman.
Marlon? Okay.
Very happy Red Hook town resident. Didn't expect to speak. I just really wanted to see what was going on. But as a member of the Rotary, I wanted to add to the list of things to be announced that March 10th, day before Mother's Day, is Apple Blossom Day. And if you could put that out on your
May 10th.
May 10th.
May 10th, I'm sorry.
May 10th. Okay, yes, that is on the list.
Okay, didn't see it on
And
the
every
calendar.
resident will get the two-sided, one-page mailer with all those events on there. Apple Blossom Day being one of them.
Thank
And I might add, you have a rescheduled 70th anniversary
March
coming
9th.
up March 9th at Flatiron, starting at 6 o'clock, no, starting
I
at,
think it's 6:30, but I'm not
6:30.
sure. But
Okay.
Everyone's anticipating you coming, so.
okay. Terrific.
So you better get the time right.
Yeah, right.
So-
Show up on the right day and the right time.
70 years, that's quite a feat. Great,
Thanks very much, that's it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else like to speak?
This is a year, is it?
No. Okay, let's delve right on in. Our highway superintendent forwarded to us a list of items that available potentially for auctioning off. And one of the items we've removed from the list because the Village of Tivoli is interested in acquiring it, and it might behoove us to sell it to the village with the caveat that if we should need a continued use of that as a backup in the event our newer ones fail. So that's been removed from the list, provided the board's in agreement to do that. Okay. Make sense? Makes sense, okay. So here are the items that have indicated for auction and would go up for public auction. Anytime we acquire something, we do it through procurement procedures. Also, anytime we dispose of something, similarly, we put it out for bid. Okay. This is resolution number 18, authorizing the sale of surplus items by the town board of the town of Red Hook. And the whereas is essentially speak to the subject that the highway superintendent has determined the equipment described in the attached list is unneeded and has recommended disposition of the equipment in the manner set forth, which is through an auction house, and with the commission not exceeding 10% for those services. And that's resolution number 18. I wonder if we have a liaison to the highway department who would like to move that.
I would like to move it, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
I think Christine by a nose. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, have you all had a chance to take a look at that application for mass gathering? And in particular, we do know, I think I shared with you, the Red Hook Pool is looking to hold that competition that they did several years ago, the regionals, which will trigger the mass gathering provisions of the code. It's pretty prescriptive, but once again, we thought it'd be user-friendly if we did adopt an application. Any questions you all had? Bill, you want to talk about the amplification and the hours and that?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, in the town code.
You, Bill.
Yeah, because there's two bills here.
Oh, no, don't worry, I won't be asking Bill Kimball.
Our town code already has a definition or requirements that noise above certain decibels can't happen after 10 p.m. And this application talks about, I think it's from 10 a.m. to 8 a.m. And this is...
Well, I'm looking at this, it says in
No,
bullet
this-
5, it
yeah.
says use of amplification shall be regulated, so it will not interfere with the normal use of any school, church, residence
between midnight.
between midnight and 9 a.m.
Which is not really consistent with our town code.
Right.
Um,
Well, that is the point. I will just point out that the town code has an exception for things that have been granted to mass gathering to the extent authorized by the mass gathering. So you can make exceptions just like you do for certain festivals that may hold of your own, where I do recall a bagpipe being played fairly early in the morning. You know, there are situations, and so they're meant to work together so that you can authorize certain exceptions to your noise ordinance where you grant this kind of a permit.
Yeah.
well,
But I'm with Bill about, I mean, certainly, I understand the unusual and unique nature of it, that you would have a one-time event that could exceed with the town board permissions. However, you know, midnight, 9 a.m., first of all, 9 a.m. is too late. I think this event, most of the folks will be there at 8 a.m. or by 8 a.m., so I don't know necessarily that 9 a.m. would be prudent. And I also think in all other, the latter part of the sentence, in all other areas between the hours of 2 a.m. and 9 a.m., that might need to be adjusted as well.
yeah, you know,
This isn't the permit, this is language from.
This is the form, yeah. So this is what
From the local law.
from the local law. But I think we should, yeah, we should consider when we get applications, whether it's appropriate that those hours be permissible, given,
well, we could say in the form,
Yeah.
the town code says this,
you know.
and if the event that you are planning, if you are seeking an exception pursuant to the town code, set forth exactly, you know, with some granularity about when, say it was gonna go to 11, or 11:30 or 12, to ask the town board specifically what it is you're looking for. I mean, our noise ordinance generally, you know, deals with issues like people drilling wells and you know,
Yeah.
working out, you know, mowing the lawn or whatever.
But I think to Chris's point, is this mirrors what's in the chapter, right, Chris?
That's correct,
Yeah.
because it's an outside limit, right?
Yeah.
And then you
Right.
can, you know, their application will be for hours of certain hours of the event.
But,
So if
And
you
we-
want the event to go on for more hours than that, then you're not going
But
to
it-
accept that application, you're going to make them modify it,
But
or
the-
approve it in a modified form.
And we have discretion to do that on a case-by-case basis, Chris?
You know, let's see, the provision about noise, let's see, use of amplification shall be regulated. So in any event, they have to make sure that the application doesn't interfere with those other, you know, neighbors, basically.
I guess my problem
Yeah, but
with this,
between midnight and 9
Yeah,
a.m.
it's the hours, Chris. that-
well, it
the
makes it
question
sound
is
like
to-
it's a blanket okay.
Remember, this is the form, right? So we're not changing the code.
No,
This is the form that goes with the code. Now, if you want to change the code, we obviously can tweak the form accordingly. But,
So you have provisions in the large assemblies law that say that the town board shall have the right to specify conditions for the issuance of the permit, in addition to any of the provisions of the application. And in addition, the following specific conditions apply. So those, you know, those are sort of minimum conditions, if you will.
all right, okay. So to answer your question, we have discretion, but I'm with you. It'd be nice if the language were a little bit,
it's written blanket, let's put
Clearer.
it that way. It's
Clearer
written,
that,
it's written
you
if
know.
as a cold reader, I'm reading this, that I can do this between 12 and, you know, midnight and 9 a.m. or 2 a.m. and 9 a.m. It's not saying that that's an exception to our normal noise ordinance with the discretion. And I would just like something that make it clearer to a user that it's not a blanket, it's an exception, and the board, you would have to approve it. I mean, I may be in the minority on this, but I read this to mean that any widely gathered, you know, that met one of these definitions, you could go from midnight to 9 a.m.
Chris, do you think you might be able to whip up some language that
I didn't read it that way at all, Bill.
you didn't read it that way? Okay. You read it exactly
Well,
as it's.
it says it will not interfere with the normal use between midnight and 9 a.m.
But the
Not that you
normal,
could do it between midnight and
I was gonna say, but the
Yeah.
normal use is between 10 PM and 8 AM. That's the standard
Not
normal
under,
use.
not under this code.
Okay.
You're stuck on noise ordinance, but not under
Right, but
this
not under
code.
this code, it's two separate
Yeah.
codes. And since we have discretion, I think it's fine. Because it
Yeah.
depends on, where it is it a weekend, is it a weeknight, is
Mhm.
how close our neighbors, so, every situation is gonna be different.
Well, I kind of disagree. I mean, I think, well, first of all, sound travels a
Well,
considerable distance around
true.
here. And I've been awoken by somebody drilling a well half a mile away. And, and it went on pretty late. So, and it was an emergency, but it's still, the sound travels. So I just,
Well, I think some of what we're talking about is whether the hours are right, less than whether this is appropriate, like to set something different for events, right? I think that's sort of the thing that as I'm reading it, I'm wondering, part is the interference with the normal use part of this, like and who's determining that, and what that means for a residence compared to, a school or a church or something like that, which typically wouldn't be, necessarily operating these hours. But I think that the question of the hours aligning with the regular noise ordinance, like if we wanted the event one to do that, we could do that. I think this is the sort of exception we want to consider, that if there's something happening, we have something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then I think the consideration of, are the parameters right for the event? I think it'd be good to consider that as we're looking at these applications. But I think stating this is fine. I think that the extended hours are reasonable for something like this.
Would it be helpful if we just, and I don't know, Chris, if we can do this, but if we put sort of a footnote or something saying that these are the outside parameters and not all, that the events will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis or something?
It is quite a long run-on sentence, but something at the end, or other such hours is determined by, what do you think, Chris?
Or maybe we could say something along the lines of they propose the hours of the event, and then we could say that we're not going to go beyond what's stated here, right? There's not going to be an exception that goes beyond this, but you're asking.
Well, that's in the code, so
Yeah.
that can happen. This is really just
Just the form.
to make it easier on them. Give
Yeah.
them an application which incorporates some of the language from the code.
I mean, if it's what's in the code, it's pretty clear. But like, we're just telling people what's in the code.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean,
Well, I think we want to make sure that discretion is included in this language.
Yeah, that's the only part that,
Yeah.
I mean, the part where I
What do you
agree with
think,
Phil is
Chris?
that if you were kind of a lay reader, you might think you're entitled
Yeah.
to have an event
Yeah,
that
this
is
is,
noisy
this
until
is only
midnight.
an application, this is not this is not the law. And so this is intended to try to give somebody, this is what was requested in any event, to give somebody a roadmap to follow. There is a provision in the document to add additional conditions. And that's where, in addition to the hours that you're gonna specify for the event, you can add additional conditions.
Right.
There's a placeholder for that.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the issue, Chris, sorry. I think you're not understanding the issue that we're
No,
bringing up.
I'm
It's not that we don't have the authority to say, sorry, you need to shut this concert down at 11 PM. The issue is that we want the reader, for example, tonight, one person on one side of me thinks it reads one way, one person on another side of me thinks it reads another way. The issue is what does the reader think?
it's a clarity issue.
Right, that they have the ability to go to these hours, or that it's still subject to the discretion of the town board?
It's a minor
And so I think we
Julia,
want to be clear with folks when they pick up one of these.
And what you suggested, Julia, was sort of says, I think that was sort of my issue as a layperson reading this, like, oh, I can do this from 9 to, I can do this, from to midnight. And that may not be the case.
Any words coming to mind, Chris? Okay.
I'm wondering actually whether that sort of disclaimer belongs somewhere up front, right? Because that could be true of any, we could choose to be more restrictive than what's here on any number of points.
be
Shows up as number
helpful,
10.
Bill, if this says, makes this application certified and agree to comply with all conditions of the large assembly, what is it? Chapter so-and-so, chapter so-and-so, chapter 44. Let me finish here just a second. Including without limitation the following, and with any special conditions imposed by the town board. Additional special conditions.
That would make it clear that we,
Would that make it better?
well, it would make it that clear that special conditions can be levied by the town board. And it does sort of, number 10 actually kind of says that.
And so does this
Oh,
bold paragraph
bold
on the front,
paragraph
but I
also.
think the language that Chris just added might make
Yeah.
it a little clearer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have to have discretion included in the application, I think.
Yeah, it's elsewhere, but I'm adding it here as well.
Yeah.
You want me to say in this one, since this seems to be the issue, in number 5, you want me to say, or should shorter hours if it was approved for this event?
Yeah,
Yeah, that would do it.
That help you too,
yeah,
okay?
or such shorter
Shorter
hours.
hours as may be approved for this event.
Okay. And any other change?
I just had a question.
Yeah,
The very first sentence of the application, it's clear that if you're 500 people or more and you expect to go more than 8 hours, but it's sort of unclear if it's 1,000, whether it's also the same condition. The way it's written, it's just a little confusing whether the same condition applies for having 1,000 people as 500 regarding the length of time of the meeting.
I think it's anything with 1,000, more than 1,000.
anything with 1,000,
Yeah, but for what length of time?
be 10 minutes,
For
Oh,
any length of time,
Yeah.
for 10 minutes.
yeah.
okay. But if it's expected to go
It's-
beyond,
It's sort of like you think, it's, if you have 508 hours, you need it. If you have 1,000, it doesn't matter the duration,
Yeah.
so the duration could be more than 8 hours.
or less.
Well, I guess that's the question that
Yeah.
it raised to me was, do we want to
It's not-
have,
It's not, hours are not relevant to 1,000 or more.
No, the idea was somebody could have a wedding with 500 people for 6 hours and
Right.
we don't need a permit.
that part I get. I guess the question is, it's just a
1,000
little.
for 15 minutes, they need a permit.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not.
It doesn't matter,
It's not
but
time
we're not,
sensitive.
but we're not putting a limit for how long it can go, other than our time, the hours for amplification.
No, we may.
Unless we set some
Oh, no, we
special.
may,
Not at all.
absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
It was a
We
little.
That's
don't-
why the application asked them to tell you what the hours of the event are gonna be, right?
It's just what triggers,
Okay.
this.
So if it's 1,000, it doesn't matter if it's 10 minutes.
Doesn't matter.
And this is just a little crazy from the statute, or I mean, from the code, right?
Right.
Okay.
All we're doing tonight is
Copy
taking
and pasting the
excerpts,
code.
copy and paste,
Yeah.
trying to make it easy for them so we can get the information and get them on their way.
Overall, I thought it was very helpful.
Oh, I think it's important.
Yeah.
Okay, as modified,
Oh, can we justify that third paragraph? The only one that's not justified.
what's that?
The third paragraph, it's not justified.
The no, is it the no large assembly
Yeah.
that you're looking
Sorry to be annoying.
Boy, third paragraph, yes, it is annoying, isn't it?
I was talking about me.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Anything else? Okay. Thank you all. As modified this evening, resolution number 19, approving the application for large assembly, mass gatherings, AKA, Town of Red Hook Town Code, Chapter 44. And who would like to move that?
So moved.
Thank you, Joe.
Second.
Thank you, Jacob. All in favor? Aye, thank you. I think I mentioned we're gonna skip over 3. Come back to that. Let's quickly just go over, I shared with you local law number 2 of 2024, regulating hazardous pollution sources in proximity to public water supply sources, aquifers, and wetlands. This comes out of the Dutchess County Legislature. Last month I invited, in my capacity as the president of the County Supervisors and Mayors Association, I invited the county Health and Planning Department to come and make a brief presentation to the supervisors and mayors on this issue, and I'd like to invite them, with your permission, to come in front of us so that the public can get educated on this law, which they passed last year, which I don't think many developers or property owners are aware of. And I think it's important that they do become aware of it. And of course, we just finished with the state updating their wetlands, and everyone was so happy about that.
Well, the other thing we've just finished is
Yeah.
our drinking water source protection program.
Exactly.
I don't know what you call it in the end, sort of dossier, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know whether one of the project leads for that could come give a sort of summary presentation on the recommendations that came out of that project. But I think that would be helpful.
That is exactly what's being planned. It may not happen at the same meeting. It all depends when they're ready. That Grant funded project, as you know, is essentially complete, just waiting on final edits and comments. Yeah, it would be good for us to figure out, make sure that if we take any action related to aquifer protection, that it's consistent with what the county has not only proposed but passed here. And just, briefly, some of the things that they're regulating is really distance requirements between certain activities, I think in terms of gas stations, and the potential impact for dry cleaning, that use solvents on site and car wash facilities, so on and so forth. And just, and I won't steal the thunder of their presentation, but there are setback separation distances from potential contaminant sources. Public water supply well, 1,500 feet for dry cleaning. Wetland, 1,500 feet, aquifer, 1,500 feet. Petroleum storage, also 1,500 feet. Gasoline or diesel fueling pumps for the purpose of dispensing to individual consumers, 1,500 feet. Smaller separation distances, salvage operations for vehicle parts, junkyards as we used to call them. Ice control salt or products with ice control salt. So, we're a municipality, we have one of those facilities, 500 feet. And, drinking water sources is a rather expansive definition, and I'll let them come and explain to you what is a public drinking water source. It's not just a proposed public water supply well. It's any place that essentially the public has access to drinking water. So let them come and do a presentation if that's okay. Next month? I think our next meeting's really jam-packed, so it may not be the first meeting in March, but it might be the second meeting in March. Okay?
I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you have the answer to. I was on the Drinking Water Source Protection Group, and you've been going over the various drafts of the report. And they have overlays where they talk about where's the petroleum stored and whatnot.
Mhm.
Were they, the people of the state, were they aware that this was happening in the county level?
I think so, because the county was participating in that
They
effort
were,
as well.
Okay.
So they must have at some point become aware of this. But we started that project before.
Way before, yeah.
This happened.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to know whether Michael, it was Michael Floring and
Yeah.
another person, whether they made an adjustment.
I'm assuming they're aware of it. I don't know if they made adjustments, because don't forget, it's really,
Well,
it's for our purposes.
Right, right.
It's not for the county purposes that we did that project. Okay, so we'll have them back March 2nd meeting. Ask them to come do a presentation if they can. That would be the 25th,
26th.
26th, or all right. Julia, do you want to talk for a few minutes on the Town of River Comprehensive Plan Committee? Give the folks at home just sort of a brief idea of how things are progressing, and the board on recommendations, what you are thinking about. And maybe we'll entertain a motion to establish the committee tonight.
Sure, that sounds good. So as I think everybody knows, we have a grant from the Department of State to do an update of our comprehensive plan. Which current plan that's in force right now is from 1993. The grant is for an update which is in alignment with smart growth principles, which I would say our current plan follows, and we will be using as we do the update. So a comprehensive plan sets a long-range vision for land use in the town. What do we want our community to look and feel like in the future? It should be enduring. It's a document that will last for a decade or more. And really the heart of that process is hearing from the people in the town what they want the town to be. So with that premise, there are going to be lots of ways for the public to engage with this process as we go forward. The committee, which will work closely with the board and with the selected planning consultant, is one of those ways, but it is only one. We have a form right now. There's a page on the website called Comprehensive Plan. It's currently linked under departments. We're going to be placing it in lots of other spots and sending out a notify me announcement. And if you're at all interested in this process, if you just even want to get updates about this process, fill out that form, let us know who you are, let us know that you're interested. There will be many ways to be involved, whether that's attending a public event, maybe being part of a working group, liaising with an existing committee on one of the topics that will be covered by the plan. And so this committee that we are forming is really sort of the first circle out. Those folks are going to be deeply involved in steering the process over probably 18 to 24 months. And then they will be really having a strong voice in how that public engagement process takes shape. So do you guys have any questions?
So your recommendation is to have 11 members,
Yep.
2-year terms.
2-year terms, but this is an ad hoc committee. We're not creating a new standing committee of the town. This is a
Right.
project-focused committee that will
Right.
dissolve once the plan is adopted.
Right. You want to go over some of these other bullet
Sure.
points? Okay.
So it's obviously important that this committee is representative of the town in a lot of different ways. Perspectives, experiences, backgrounds, people who've been in town for generations, people who moved into town more recently, people who have expertise on different topics and connections with different sort of subgroups and communities within the town. And also, I mean, this is, like I said, it's gonna be a little bit of a wonky process being on this committee. We want people who are familiar with the workings of government and public planning, public engagement, and really enjoy spending their time thinking about those things. Members will be appointed by the board. This is a town project. It's the town's comprehensive plan, but obviously the town has 2 villages within its borders. We'll be working closely with the villages, so they'll be invited to have non-voting liaisons to the committee. And this next point is just makes good sense, but is also a requirement of the grant that we have a member from the planning board also on the comprehensive plan committee to ensure that those processes are closely aligned. Obviously, someone from the board will participate in the committee and may serve as its chair if that turns out to be the best solution, so that there is close alignment with the work of the board and no surprises at the end of the process. And we do feel that a paid part-time secretary to help support the administrative functions of the committee. So, mission, I'll just read this. The Comprehensive Plan Committee will steer and support the development of an updated comprehensive plan for the town of Red Hook. The committee will work closely with the town board and the selected comprehensive plan consultant to ensure that the planning process is welcoming, inclusive, and reflects best practices for community engagement, and that the resulting comprehensive plan incorporates smart growth principles and accurately represents the priorities of the town. And we get a little more into the nuts and bolts of how the committee will function. We expect that it will likely meet monthly, potentially more in small working groups in between, supporting the planning of implementation of the engagement events and participation in those, background research on topics relevant to the plan, analysis and review of information and data, review of drafts of the plan and related maps and documents, sharing their perspectives and experience from where they sit with the committee and the consultant. And then this last one is important, which is really this sort of two-way function. Not only are you communicating to the committee, the consultant, and the board, but you're also then sharing information back out with your own community.
Very good. So it's probably fair to say, Julia, we talk about all the various committees and boards that we have. And depending upon what the initiative is, some of them are somewhat significant time commitment. This would probably be one of those,
This
right?
would be one of those.
So if you're thinking, how can I participate, but you don't have the time to be a committee member, this is an opportunity to, consider, reach out, fill out that
Fill out
form.
that form. There will be lots of ways to engage that do
Right.
not involve devoting as much of your life over the
But
next
this is
24
not,
months.
and I think if I recall, the last one, I think was 3 or 4 years. Yeah. We're much smarter now and much faster, and there's technology involved, right? So, or said another way, we're updating an existing comprehensive plan. It's not a complete rewrite, although I guess conceivably it could end up being that. But we can build upon what we have, modify what we have, so it shouldn't be as, so much of a burden. But this is not going to be the one where you can sort of drop in,
No, that's right.
when you
This is a
feel like
commitment.
it and contribute just your, your 2 cents. This is
No.
gonna be, you're gonna be working, you're gonna have tasks, you're gonna have, so consider that if you'd like to apply to be on the update.
Well, and I should say, consider that there will be opportunities to drop in and give your 2 cents. I mean,
Right.
that's how the
Public
process will be
engagement.
designed.
Right.
There
But
will be
as
all
a
kinds of-
committee member,
Correct.
you're gonna be asked to work.
Correct.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. So we wanna just full
Yeah.
disclosure.
Well, and
on
I
this.
think you made this clear, but what we're proposing to do today, we've not identified members of the committee
Right.
yet. We're just forming the container at this point,
Mhm.
if you will.
So 11 plus 2 village liaison. My French is getting good. What?
Lucky 13.
Lucky 13. And there is a disclaimer that you'll see on everything. Okay.
Any questions?
What, yeah, anything for Julia? You like the mission statement?
I think
You like the number?
Well, for standing
Yeah.
committees, it is. I'm not sure about ad hoc. I mean, assumption.
Okay. Well, shall we entertain resolution number 20 of 2025, establishing a comprehensive plan committee? Whereas the town of Red Hook was notified of the award by New York State Department of State for a grant for the update of the town's comprehensive plan project. The town desires to establish a comprehensive plan committee to support the development of an updated comprehensive plan for consideration by the town board pursuant to section 272A of the town law. Now therefore be it resolved that we hereby create an ad hoc committee to be known as the Comprehensive Plan Committee, as outlined in the description attached here to. The chair and members of the committee shall be appointed by the town board. And you'll have some recommendations on that forthcoming in the next couple of meetings or so.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. I wonder who would like to move this resolution?
I'd be happy to.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Judy.
I'll second.
Thank you, Bill. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all very much. Okay. We're going to come back to just
Regular reorg.
potential, well, that was our reorg. That was our reorg for tonight. So
This is just an updated list, and we're not doing all of this.
we're not doing more with this. We will be sending out a notice of availabilities in the various committees. You've probably heard that we are, since we're in visioning mode now, we'll be retooling, repurposing some of the committees to take a look at a vision for the future. So that may be, for example, economic development, which plays an important advisory role in offering their opinions on things that we're working on. We're now maybe going to look at establishing with the village a visioning for the future, maybe an economic development plan itself that could be, either adopted or incorporated into some of the work that this comprehensive plan committee could do. Many other committees, communication committee, so on and so forth. I think we're up to about 5 that we're looking at sort of repurposing. So look for later in March, I would say, an announcement of availability and what those committees might look like at that time. All right, why don't we jump into quickly doing board and committee reports then. We're going to entertain a motion to go into executive session. So that said, who would like to start us off with
You put me first.
police?
So for the month of January, the local police, who's our contracted police agency, responded to 123 calls or incidents, not including Tivoli, which contracts with them separately. They issued 32 tickets, moving violation summons. There were no parking tickets, and they actually made 4 arrests. The report itself is fairly self-explanatory by category, what the complaints are, the issues that they're responding to. The only thing I would remind the public is when you get to the school resource officer, it makes it look like there were a lot of things that happened there. It's not. They're recording every day that a school resource officer is assigned to the school. It's not responding to an event.
And I think they have 2 per day now, don't they?
Yes.
And then 2 schools.
So, yeah, exactly. So it makes it look like something that really isn't. And they don't, I asked them if they could find a way to change that, but their system does not allow it. So that's, just want to make sure the public is aware of that. So that's, but they're busy.
Speaking of busy, shall we jump into building and zoning? We have both an annual and a monthly report. We didn't get to in January, we didn't have their annual report yet, but why don't we tackle that?
You want to do the annual one first? I have the annual report.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the year, they give us a year-end report. For the year of 2024, from January 1st to December 31st, they issued 440 building permits. The 5 STR for short-term rental permits, because they do that. They conducted 995 inspections of, ongoing work or completed work. They issued 334 certificates of occupancy or completion. They received 15 complaints, and they generated over $165,000 in revenue through that permitting process. And when I read that, my memory, and it did serve me correct this time, was that these appeared to be the highest numbers we've ever had in town. So I went back to the 2023 numbers, and they are, in 2023, there were 375 permits, 939 inspections, 221 COs or CCs, and they had more complaints, so I think a lower number of complaints is arguably a good thing. The only difference was that they did generate more income from permitting in 2023, but that's because residential permits are less expensive. But to me, that says we're building more houses, and we're doing more things to residences, which I see as a good thing.
Or similar as institutional.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So yeah, like Bard College, those are much more expensive. So it made more money for the town, but it's not necessarily reflective of the amount of activity. So that was for the year end, and we just got February's in. And for the month of February of this year, which is not yet over, but they gave it to us, they issued 17 permits, they've done 58 inspections, they've issued 19 COs or CCs, they have got no complaints, and $4,671 in revenue. So they are as busy as they have ever been, and I think that's a good thing. I think it shows that our town is growing, and I think that's a very positive thing for the town. So
Yeah.
and
I'd like to just add, because you often hear about, a lot of the work that we're doing, either zoning related, projects, trails, conservation, so on and so forth. But I think what gets less attention is the fact that all these efforts go towards quality of life, and all the studies show that quality of life is key to economic development, and that's why you're seeing we're both succeeding in preserving more, creating more recreational opportunities, and we're seeing record levels in a very condensed, smart growth way, record levels of building activity here in the community. So if you sometimes wonder why we work so hard on the zoning and other code provisions, it's because it has a ripple effect, and it certainly has an impact upon the local economy. And the numbers just say that. This is not since the IBM era, back in the 60s, has there been this level of activity in the community. Okay,
and you have to scroll through the very long
it's a
report.
very long list to get to Jacob, who is ready to tell us about highway?
Do whichever you want.
Highway? I don't know, it seems like it's out
You're
of
just gonna
that
send it over the
order.
Water board?
It's just out of order. There's rec. We're gonna not even tell Christine what's there. Okay, highway. If you wouldn't mind, Jacob.
Yes, so Teresa shared an end-of-year report. Top of it, there's duties and responsibilities of the highway department, same sort of things we discuss every year. We appreciate the work that they do to keep the roads safe. A few highlights for 2024, some of the work that was done included paving with a contractor, Old Post Road North, Pitcher Lane Extension, and Fraley Lane, distance of 2.68 miles, cost of just under $300,000. Chip seal with a contractor, Oriole Mills Road, Yance Road, Sunrise Drive, and Sunset Terrace, distance of 3.4 miles, cost of $91,000. The contractor installed guardrail on Orlick Road over the culvert, cost of $13,600. There's a list of the maintenance that was done, including replacing 210 feet of culvert pipe on 3 roads, installing signs on town roads, removing dangerous trees, 45 locations, clearing, maintaining, and replacing catch basins, various locations, mowing shoulders on town roads, equal to 240 million miles. So a lot of work from the maintenance side of things for the town crew. There was trainings that were completed, including sexual harassment, workplace violence, PESH required training, so safety training, forklift certification, and then shared services with town of Rhinebeck, town of Milan, transferring dirt from the rec park during Palo St. Margaret's, cleaning out the drainage ditch at the recreational park, and then a few other administrative items, ArcGIS sign inventory completed, facilitating the e-waste recycling event, working with the CAC. I know that the committee always really appreciates Teresa's help with that event. We talked about it at the beginning of this meeting, it's coming up soon. And then the 2 purchases from the end of the year that we discussed, the chipper and the forklift. And then she attached logs at the end of this report as well. I'm not going to read every line of that, but a lot of things to see there. So thanks to Teresa and the crew for all the work in 2024.
Thanks, Jacob. I do notice that I think this probably uses as a template. You may want to change the years to be reflect 2024 instead of 2023 on the backside there. Yeah. Also, probably a good opportunity just to remind folks, speaking of quality of life, the town of Red Hook is unique in that it has 3 state highways coming through it, so we have a lot of truck traffic. A couple of years ago, we passed legislation that prohibits trucks over a certain weight going on our local roads, unless of course they're doing work or doing deliveries. We just want to remind our businesses, and frankly many of the businesses are not local businesses that are not adhering to the new code, but it is listed on your report here that the highway department did install the signs, and we want to remind folks that unless you're doing construction on a local road, a town road, or making a delivery, that you're relegated to the county and the state highways, which are more appropriate for large-scale trucks. Okay, that said, shall we dive into, or go backwards on my list here?
Trees.
Oh, you want to do the trees?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
so the February monthly report from the Tree Preservation Commission was a lively meeting, as we've heard. Some good news, we received our final approval for the renewal application for our Tree City USA designation, and this is the 19th year as a Tree City for Red Hook, so next year we'll be celebrating 20 years. The Tree City Recognition Luncheon is in March, and it's being held in Kingston this year, so we have 2 committee members, George and Kathy Michael, will be attending. The tree inventory subcommittee is making progress, so there's a plan in place to have a 5-year cycle, beginning this year, assessing 1/5 of the street side trees each year, going through each 5th every year, and then repeating. Spring planting tree order was discussed, includes 6 trees for Pitcher Lane, 3 to 5 for Rec Park West. Committee agreed to nominate Mill Road School for Tree Campus K-12 status, so sort of a school version of Tree City. And then committee volunteers, Zoe Evans shared thoughts and planning suggestions for Rec Park West, her focus on native bird-friendly species, which is something we talked about in January about prioritizing species like that for the town plantings. So a lot of good things in the report. I also had spoken at past meetings about the idea of putting some bluebird boxes on the Cookingham property. I have a map for that. I didn't set up for the meeting, but I can distribute that to everybody for review to do that. It seems like the locations would be more on the north side, sort of around the bend, where the trees are planted there, the sort of
trees.
Yeah, so back there rather than near the pond, whereas I originally kind of thought they were suggesting. So a little bit out of the way there.
And speaking of trees, remember the spongy moss from last year and the year before?
Mhm.
So Carey Institute would like to come and do a presentation for the community, not necessarily at a town board meeting, could be, but maybe the Elmendorf or a place like that. They would also like to do some sampling So we're gonna see if we can assist in connecting them with some property owners. My recollection is this is the beginning of the collapse years, right? That it's hopefully, that it peaked last year or the year before, I forget, was it last year? I don't know. But something to look forward to, yes. Okay, Christine,
Okay.
it's February, so actually it's not so bad, right? It's manageable.
Bad.
It's always a lot
They
of.
do a
This-
lot of
To
work.
summarize all that they do,
That's right.
is
So that's
almost
why
impossible.
it takes, exactly.
yeah.
So, but right now,
Yeah.
in the winter is one of the less busy programmatic times,
Mhm.
with the exception of the winter pickleball program,
Mhm.
which continues to be completely subscribed and
Mhm.
runs until April 2025.
Mhm.
I'm amazed actually now that they're up to 3 different sections of time to fit all these people in.
Yeah.
So, but it is also time to be getting ready already for when we're gonna be opening the parks in not too distant future.
Mhm.
So repairs are being scheduled, supplies are being brought in,
Mhm.
summer crews, hiring the summer crews and getting them ready to start is underway. Maintenance on equipment, reviewing, we have gotten some previous messages that, many of the pieces of equipment with the rec department are well beyond their predicted useful life. Thanks, many thanks to the creative minds we have over there who can continue to do repairs, find alternative ways to keep these pieces of equipment running even when sometimes you can't get the right parts for them anymore, and fabricating their own parts to make them run. But as they have told us for several months in a row now, we're probably looking at having to buy some to replace some of these pieces of equipment. I already mentioned that the annual fishing contest is happening on Saturday, April 12th, so there'll be more information coming as that gets closer. As part of the equipment reviews, they have been looking into possibly getting some electric mowers. They just made some repairs on our zero-turn mower to see if we can keep it going longer. And now they were looking at electric zero-turn mowers. One of the things that they are finding is that the dealerships are not close by for us. So, if service issues come up, that's going to be a bigger problem. They do not offer pickup services or delivery services, so then we'd need equipment to be able to transport if that was the case. So all of that is still problematic in terms of us being able to use that type of equipment solely.
There's an update to that. They did a test drive or mow, and they're gonna make a proposal to us for next,
Yeah.
at our local
Yes,
conference.
we can get them and they
Yeah.
work.
Yeah,
It's just a question of how we would transport them back and forth
if they need service.
if they need service or between sites.
Yeah.
And, getting parts and stuff. So hopefully, they won't need any for a while if they're brand new.
Yeah.
Um,
They're electric.
Yeah, and
Fewer
so,
parts.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's generally what's going on right now. Right. Correct.
Very good. So, I was over at the VFW before tonight's meeting. And you know how I'm trying to figure out some more things for folks to do during the winter time. If you're into winter sports, great. If you like ice skating, this was a perfect winter for you because there was ice everywhere. Some of us were skating without skates on the farm and falling down sometimes. And making the arrangement with the state facility on the pickleball, that's been a great thing. 200 people. Okay, so that's great, but not everybody plays pickleball.
Golf simulators?
Golf simulator. So what do you think about, I think that'd be enormously popular. What do you think about doing a program where we had some designated town rec time with the golf simulator. Jacob, you look like a golfer, just,
Look at me.
it's you. We can all
I look like
find
my
you.
dad.
What?
It's because I look like my dad.
You look at, is he a big
Yeah.
golfer? So I'm thinking this would be another great
I think
opportunity.
it's definitely worth discussing
Okay,
at the very least,
okay.
if the VFW is open to
Would be
discussing
interested
that.
in, apparently it's a really nice golf simulator. They
I think
say
they have
it's,
three.
is that
I
right?
think they got 3 simulators,
Wow.
if I read the release correctly.
Well, look, I mean, anything that, connects our community with our vets, and in the wintertime, and something that they can enjoy and do together. I don't know. What do you think, Julie? You ready to pick up
Oh, yeah.
a driver? That's you. Bill?
I'll be supportive of it, but I'll remind everybody what Winston Churchill said about golf.
What?
A nice walk spoiled.
Yeah. Is that what
That's why I don't
Only if
play.
it's simulated, you don't even have
Yeah,
to do
but you don't have to
it.
walk, so
Right.
that's why I don't play golf.
Do they have,
I think that was that.
Oh.
I think it was Mark Twain.
Well, yeah, and I think it was Winston Churchill
I like it.
Quoting thing.
quoting from.
Well, I think let's start a conversation with them and see if there's something we could work out with
See
them.
availability.
See what the availability is, I mean, they've got the facility, they must have lots of openings, seems like a
Yeah,
potential.
I mean, I could see how they just got them, so they
Yeah.
might want to use them themselves and make sure that
Yeah.
the members of the VFW have
Yeah.
time to use them, and, but,
Yeah.
it's certainly worth discussing,
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Do we know if they're currently sort of like booking them for members, or
I
is
think
it-
they,
Yeah,
well, they're booking them, no, it's open to the public,
okay.
you can book it for a fee.
You can just book it, okay.
But if
That's
we
what-
reserve
that's
the
what it
block
sounds like. Yeah,
for the public,
yeah,
made it part of our recreational program,
yeah. Worth looking into.
right? Redefining recreation.
Right.
I was gonna cross-country ski last weekend on the Cooking Trails. Have you seen anybody do that? Yeah.
No,
No.
ice skating.
Ice skating there?
It was cool, I seen for a little while. Not actual ice skating.
There were tracks.
Yeah. Oh,
Any
so
tricks?
somebody did.
There were tracks.
Oh, somebody did, okay, great,
There were.
wonderful. All right, I digress. It's not the first time I've done that, right?
You want water or CAC next?
Let's do something really exciting, like talk about turbidity.
Wait, this is the water board, not the water department,
Let's
Right.
do the water board.
which I will clarify for the public again.
Yeah.
The water board is a group of volunteers who have a diverse set of knowledge and experience in things that have relation to public utilities. And they oversee the overall operations of our water department. The water department does meet monthly, and usually the report you see is like issues of turbidity, it's, how things test on a monthly basis. We do get that report. The water board meets less frequently, probably quarterly, and that's why there's a lag. So these minutes were actually approved from a December 4th meeting. They had a late January meeting. So that's why there's sort of a time lag. But at this meeting, the two big projects or things that they're looking at and talking about in terms of coming back to us, the town board, with recommendations with regard to the operations of the water department. One has to do with something that Congress passed a law and EPA has implementing regulations requiring any entity, it usually involves cities and villages that have to require water, but any municipality that provides water to its residents to determine whether there are any lines that bring the water to the home were lead, some kind of lead pipe or had lead in them. And there are these big grant programs to replace those lines so that there's, to reduce the amount of lead. So our water department, we have 498 current members of homes that use it, and they're required to do a census, and frankly, they're looking for almost 100% response on that. And so we know that any house that was built in, I think, 85 or 86, after 85, wouldn't have had any lead. So they were able to remove 206 from the list. And then there was 282, and they actually sent out with the water bills requests for, please take a picture of where the water comes in, call us if you need help. And they identified up to December 4th, another 145, and at that time of that meeting, they were at 137 unknowns. It's actually lower now. And so the question is there a way, because you may never get 100% response, and there's been discussions with the state and the county about some statistical ways of looking at it so that we can have a level of assurance that we don't have any lead. We're fairly confident there are no lead lines in the town of Red Hook. But we do have this obligation to report back to the EPA through the state, actually through the county, through the state. And we gave our first report back in October of last year. And then I think we have until the end of 26, or something like, or early 27 to get the rest of it done, and they're working on it. But I'm confident that we have no lead lines. I can't say the same for homes themselves. Older homes may have lead pipe in their homes, and this does not identify that, but there is a testing program that we help provide funding for, in which a homeowner can bring water from their tap to see if there's lead in it, because if there's no lead line going to the house, then it's something internally in the house. So that's another program. The other big issue is the issue about our water tank, and it's the continued question of, do we repaint it and fix it, or do we replace it?
Yeah.
And that's still an ongoing conversation.
We're gonna get updated quotes, I think, in the next few weeks.
Yes,
And we'll see if that moves the needle.
I think it will, and because it's an expensive proposition in either way. Either way, and there are some issues about painting a tank and how long that lasts versus how long a new tank would last, and the technologies that exist out there now, are part of the conversation. So new tanks are glass lined, they basically last forever as long as you keep the exterior painted. And they can only really guarantee about 10 to 12 years on a new paint job. And then there are other aspects. If you paint a tank, you're painting the inside of the tank, and that means you have to have supplemental water supply for those homeowners during the period of time in which you're painting the tank. So there are issues, but I think hopefully we're having another meeting in March, and we should have more information, and the water board will hopefully vote and come to some idea to present to us what they think should be done. Because ultimately, it's going to be up to this town board, the funding.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's all the board and committee reports we have for
There's a
tonight.
CAC one in the packet.
Oh, I'm sorry, is that not in our, does that make it, no?
Oh, there it is. It was sort of attached to the rec.
Yeah, it was right behind it.
Right behind the rec.
Just a physical copy.
Just the physical and the digital get up there.
Here, you want to-
Up.
Go up, I think it might be right before that.
No, that's just an email from Laura.
That's the communication.
Yeah, but this was the page, there were some pages that had to do with the
This is
event.
it.
Who wants to read the CAC minutes or report?
Julie.
Well, I wasn't there, but I could do it if I haven't.
Please do, I haven't found
All
it.
right, so this is a report to the town board. CAC does not report out every month, but they wanted to let us know a couple of things. They had upcoming events, which I think are the same ones that we already talked about at the beginning of the meeting. They have been awarded a grant-funded consultant to help with Climate Smart Community recertification. I believe we're at bronze level right now, and it's time to renew. And then 2 time-sensitive ones. So the VFW and Hendrick Hudson Masonic Lodge sponsored DEC summer camp scholarships for 11 to 17-year-olds, and the application to apply for that is March 7th. So if you are interested in sending your kids to DEC camp for free, get your application in. My kids went and both had a good time, so it's a great opportunity. And then another opportunity, there's a Ruth OJ Scholarship for graduating seniors, which is $500 just someone who is pursuing higher education in fields related to the environment. And you can go, I guess, on the Community Foundations of the Hudson Valley website to learn more about that.
And that deadline is March 15th.
Deadline March 15th, okay.
Yeah.
Do we have that on the website? I think we do.
I think we do.
Yeah, we do. Okay, that concludes our reports. At this time, we're gonna go into executive session on 2 different matters. Let's, first of all, thank you all for joining us. This evening, you're welcome to stick around for the folks at home. We are, at this point, going to entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss the hire and fire of a particular individual or firms. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. We may be back shortly.
What was the second?
And what?
You said to,
Oh, yes, we'll be coming back out, and then we'll do a separate motion to go into executive session to discuss matters under litigation. Okay?
So this break
We'll
should
look
be,
at that.
this executive session for you should be about how long?
We don't know.
One never knows.
We never know.
Great question.
and what,
We will-
We wish we did.
We will be discussing the potential hire of a particular firm or firms that responded to the RFP for the update to the comprehensive plan. So if we do come out and we do make a decision, we're certainly welcome to shoot you an email if you can't.
and the litigation is a current case?
Matters under litigation. Yeah, and that's it. That's how
Okay,
we
so
would-
what is the case?
We're not required to.
Yeah, actually, if it is a case in the court system, the opinion has been given that you should say it's XYZ Corporation versus the town of
We
whatever.
are going matters plural under litigation. So we have, as most municipalities have, we have Article 7s, which are people protesting, their taxes.
Mhm.
With litigation on other areas, we'll be going in to discuss matters under litigation.
And then most municipalities, when they do that, do in fact give the case.
We're, in this case,
Or at least
we're
the
gonna
ones I
come
cover.
back out.
Excuse me, at least the ones I cover.
Yeah, we don't have a motion in front of us with that right now. We have a motion to go in to discuss the hiring of a particular individual.
Not a problem.
Okay.
When was last time the comprehensive plan?
Good night, thank you all.
93.